Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is The Surge Effect, and I'm your host, Mike Surge. This podcast will be talking about anything and everything, life in general to current events and past events, and all things about this beautiful and wonderful world that we live in. And this podcast, well, it'll probably have an effect on you.
Before we get started on today's podcast, let's talk about two different sponsors that we have. Our first sponsor is Love My Legs Own Sound Grey Bruce. Click on the link below in the description and head on over to their website, which is a Facebook site. Has all different kinds of women's leggings on there, and they have 3 different styles of waistbands. And they are the only lifetime guarantee in the business. So head on over to their website, their Facebook page, and check out what they have to offer. Our second sponsor for today is T-Shirts, She-Shirts. Once again, click on the link below in the description and head on over to their website and see what they have to offer. They are more than just a T-shirt company. All right, let's get started with today's podcast. Well, hello again. Welcome to another episode of the Surge Affect. Today's episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about what's happened in Canada politically in the last little while, and just a couple things that's happened in the States. So this is January the 3rd, 2024. New year upon us. Last year kind of blew by fast. I banged out about, 180 videos or something like that, 190. I try to put one out once a week, twice a week if I can. It's difficult to do at times. A lot of research goes into these things as well. I've mentioned that in the past. So it's a little difficult, but hey, I'm doing my best, and hopefully this year I'll keep up the same 1 or 2 a week, hopefully. I've also done motivational ones as well. You can also check out the playlist on my motivational stuff. I started doing those before I started doing the live video podcasts. But thank you, everyone that's subscribed and liked my channel, shared my channel. Much appreciated. You can just hit the subscribe button, hit the bell there, and you'll be notified when I post new videos to YouTube. Helps with the algorithm. It's much appreciated, like I said. So anyway, we're going to get into this right now, and like I said, happy 2024 to everyone. I hope you guys have yourself a great start to the new year, and I hope that your new year is going to be a healthy and happy one for sure. All right, so let's get right into it. The first little picture I'm going to show you here is of Tucker Carlson. Just a little thing that was on the internet, what he'd said, like a little, not a meme, but just what he had mentioned, and it's on the internet. It just says, no group in Canadian history has done a worse job running this country than the neoliberals currently in charge. They're vicious, they're intolerant, and they are utterly corrupt. But above all, they are competent. So that's right from Tucker Carlson. It's a wonder that they don't want him to come to Alberta to talk to the premier out there because, hey, sometimes truth hurts, right? But that's what he said. And if you look at the polls, the polling itself, Pierre Poilievre, even as of December 27th, the last part, a week or so ago, Pierre Poilievre reached a 10-year high for Conservatives in preferred Prime Minister poll. He is kicking Liberals' asses right now, which is a good thing. And they're just slagging him in Twitter right now. All these bots and fake accounts are coming forward, and they're just trying to hammer Pierre because Pierre is crushing the Liberals. But it's their own doing, and people will stand up for the Liberals and say whatever they want, but like I've said before, don't get attached to these people. They're just a tool. They're like a hammer or a drill. They're there to do a job, and if they don't do the job, then they get voted out. It's just that simple. You look at different numbers in regards to the Liberal Party, for instance, like right there's one there. We're $46.5 billion on interest alone on our debt. That was as of November 21st, 2023. The Liberals did this. Justin Trudeau did this. And there's no getting away from it. There's no working around it. Our great grandchildren will be paying for this debt. This is insane amount of debt. And that's just one thing alone. Forget about all the other nonsense, all the other stupid shit that he's done and the stupid shit that the Liberals have done. Just putting this country in debt is enough to change the tool and to remove the tool and grab another tool out of the toolbox. And I think Canada's thinking it should be Pierre Poilievre. Like I've always said too before in regards to our resources here in Canada, we have oil. Like we're the third. So why do we import 17 billion of foreign oil every year? We're the third largest oil reserve in the world. Now I've always said that. You've heard me say it in different podcasts. It doesn't make sense to me. It just does not make any sense to me whatsoever. Canada should be living really, really well, and these are one of the things that Pierre Poilievre has talked about. I like that. I like that policy. I like that idea of using resources that we have on our own soil to make this country richer. It just makes sense. Oil is number one. Union gas, we're the 17th in the nation, in the world. And we have all kinds of natural gas. That's number two. And now, of course, we have the lithium. That's number three. So these things that we have, we can utilize to the benefit of Canada. Very important. I like those policies that Pierre's pushing forward in that regard. And if you don't think that we should do that, then I don't know what to tell you, because you got to look at it like a business. Everyone looks at these businesses, other companies, like as businesses these days. Hospitals now are businesses. They're businesses. Like the patients come in, they call them clients and stuff. It's all business related. It's how are you going to bring income in to keep that business going? How are you going to do that to this country? How are you going to keep this country moving forward and keep it going and give a better life for the people that live on this soil? You want a better life, not a worse life? I've always said that as well. And with Trudeau, it just doesn't, the math doesn't add up when you look at it. It's we have no jobs, debt's through the roof. The Canadians are just miserable, and this guy likes to divide our country. He really does. And if you don't believe that, then you are not paying attention. I'm going to show you a few things here in a second, and hopefully you'll see it from a different perspective. Now, things that he said, things that he's done. Of course, there's different little memes that people have posted. This is when the jackboot thugs in Ottawa were stomping on Canadians, literally stomping on Canadians in Ottawa, because this is a democracy. And here's another one here. This is actually them carrying people away, and hashtag never forget. But this is Justin Trudeau's definition of a democracy. Not my definition of a democracy, and hopefully it's not your definition of a democracy. These people were peacefully protesting. They didn't stop traffic. They didn't hurt anyone. They were giving out food. They were helping the homeless. They were, kids were jumping in bouncy castles. They were playing lacrosse and hockey and all that stuff. They were not violent. They were a peaceful demonstration, and that is within our Charter of Rights and Freedoms to do so. And for some reason, this guy didn't think that was okay, and he thought that, let's invoke the Emergency Act and try to do what he did to the Canadians to stop them, closing their bank accounts so people couldn't have money coming in or money going out. The banks were literally freezing these individuals' accounts that donated to the truckers and to help them in their cause. One of the most peaceful protests in the world, and Canadians, no less, and we get stomped on. Our rights get stomped on, which was pretty shitty in my opinion. Here's another little clip here, another little picture here. Of course, it's just circled here, but it says just in case you thought the system was corrupt. The green circle, the guy in the green circle, will investigate whether the guy circled in the yellow interfered to help the guy circled in the red. Crazy, isn't it? He's a friend. That was the friend, of course, of the Trudeau family. Trudeau appointed him to be a special rapporteur to investigate China, and of course, they're all friends and buddies and shaking hands and stuff. It's kind of crazy the way everything all interlinks with each other, and it's just part of the corrupt system that we have. But here's another one here, of course, and these are from Trudeau's own words. Trudeau literally said this on December 29th, 2021. We are going to end this pandemic by proceeding with the vaccination. There is still a part of the population fiercely against it. They don't believe in science or progress and are often, very often, misogynistic and racist. They take up some space. This leads us as a leader and as a country to make a choice. Do we tolerate these people? That was Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Western Standard, December 29th, 2021. Sounds a little divisive to me. Those are his words, not mine. You can look at it any way you want, but that's what he said. And that's why we are in the situation that we are in. And that's why Pierre Poilievre is probably going to pull off the largest majority government in the history of Canada. The last one was held by, I believe, Brian Mulroney back in the early 90s. And now it's going to be Pierre Poilievre. There's an old saying, a clown on a throne is still a clown. A king in rags is still a king. That's very profound, but so true. Which moves me slowly into my next one here. I'll segue into this one here is Trudeau basically into the climate change. He's right into the climate change and making Canadians, of course, pay quadruple the climate change tax on carbon, which is ridiculous. Large majority of Canadians think carbon tax does nothing for climate. Imagine that. And I'm one of them because I think it's a bunch of bullshit. And if you were to do your homework, you would find out what I've found out in regards to it. It's such a small percentage, it doesn't even equate to anything. But we're having the wool pulled over our eyes in regards to it. And it's a shame. It's a crying shame. Same guy, of course, that cries about carbon tax, and his private jet burns 6,000 kilograms of fuel per hour and costs more than $31,000 per hour to operate. And says, well, I charge you climate taxes so you can afford Christmas, can't afford Christmas dinner. Sucks to be you, peasants. Just someone kind of threw that little meme together. But how true. The jet set all around the world, and they tell us serfs what we should and should not be doing, and we are going to pay. Unfortunately, it affects everyone all the way down. The Liberals' carbon tax will change the price of everything. It'll make everything more expensive and affect the entire supply chain from the farm to the plate. If you don't realize that, then you literally have not been paying attention, because everyone passes off that tax to who? That's right, to the consumer. It all comes down to us. So it starts at the top because government charges, and then they drop it down to the consumer. They just keep passing it on. That is a fact. That's the way it goes. Now, you've heard me talk a lot about our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and I would like you to go to your Google or Brave or any browser that you're using and call up the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and you read about it. Of course, I'm wearing a Freedom shirt. Got that from heshirts.ca, who sponsors today's video. Yeah, Freedom hoodies. I'm a big freedom guy. Freedom means a lot to me. My grandfather was in World War I. He was in Vimy Ridge, Passchendaele, and a lot of men and women that were in all those wars, they did something to preserve freedom for not only our country, but other countries as well. Do your homework. But anyway, this is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I suggest you read it, read a little bit about it, and you understand your rights in this country of Canada. We have similar rights to the Constitution, but not exact, but they are kind of similar. Our fundamental freedoms right here, everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. A, freedom of conscience and religion. B, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. C, freedom of peaceful assembly. And D, freedom of association. So 2B or not 2B, that's a good way to remember that fundamental freedoms. It's section 2. Part B is freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. Of course, the other media of communication is, one of them is what I'm doing now. And there's numerous other things, of course, people do podcasts or radio or television and all that stuff. But it's your right as a Canadian to learn your Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Understand what they're about, because if you don't understand what they're about, what ends up happening is this is what happened out in Calgary recently. This is literally, I think, just a few days ago. They were doing a protest, and police officers, they can't just grab a hold of you. It's just like you can't grab a hold of them. It's assault. It's plain and simple. People have the right to protest, just like the protests in Toronto or Ottawa when they were protesting what's going on right now in Palestine with the Palestinians in Gaza and in Israel. They're protesting as long as it's peaceful. But in my opinion, I think some of them have crossed the line. They really have. But police can't just grab you and assault you for no reason. You have to break the law, right? You have to have a reason to break the law. And of course, there are Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You can film, freedom of the press. You can film and stuff. And for some reason, this is what happened. It's kind of bizarre.
Forcing us. We're not breaking anything. We've done nothing wrong. Yes, we are. I'm on myself. They have the horses. I'm on myself. Look at them shoving them. Look at them. Yeah, I am. You're people. Stop touching them. Hey, stop touching them. He did nothing wrong! Only one! Keep down! Look at him!
No, I don't!
Why is it for me? Why are you creating violence? Do your job! You took an oath! You should have to...
Now, that fellow, of course, just yelled, "You took an oath." Yeah, they did. They took an oath to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. They really did. And they're there to protect you. They're there to serve you. They're there to protect the Canadian citizens. They took an oath to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, what I just showed you on the screen. And for some reason, this occurs. And this also occurred in Ottawa. It also occurred across the world. It occurred in Australia, in England. This occurred in numerous countries where they have basically the same laws that we do. That the police are there to serve and protect us, the citizens. Not rough us up, not beat us up, not hit us with clubs and sticks and mace us and shoot us and stuff like that with rubber balls. It's just not what they're supposed to do. So here's a little thing that was on the internet I found there a little while ago. It's 5 best sentences. You cannot legislate the poor into prosperity by legislating the wealthy out of prosperity. Number 2, what one person receives without working for, another person must work for without receiving. Number 3, the government cannot give to anybody anything that the government does not first take from somebody else. Number 4, you cannot multiply wealth by dividing it. Number 5, when half of the people get the idea that they do not have to work because the other half is going to take care of them. And when the other half gets the idea that it does no good to work because somebody else is going to get what they work for, that is the beginning of the end of any nation. You can listen to that again and let that kind of sink into what it's trying to tell you. It's fairly profound. Sure. So, of course, I was talking a little bit about Pierre at the start when I was talking about Trudeau and how far Pierre is in the polls. Pierre did a little bit of an interview here not too long ago, and this is one of the reasons, too, that the Liberals, they want to just slag him on Twitter and slag him on social media and just go after him every chance they get because, like I said, he's kicking their ass. And his views on thoughts of how things should work are a lot different than most politicians. So have a listen. It's almost 5 minutes long, but I'm not going to play that much of it. I'm just going to play a little bit to get you the idea. So here we go.
So what does bring it home mean to me? Well, obviously it's a slogan, which is required in my line of work. But when I ran for leader of the Conservative Party, I said my mission was to put people back in control of their lives by making Canada the freest country on earth. People felt like they had lost control. They'd been bullied, pushed around, shut down, shut up, censored, and many lost their livelihoods. A lot of young people can't afford homes. They can't even decide where to live. So I wanted to give them the sense they could take back control of their lives with a new prime minister. When I became leader, my wife and I had a great conversation about how we could convert that into a very positive term, a very positive slogan that used very human language. And she suggested bring it home. And bring it home means a lot of different things, but they all come together in one. First of all, it means taking back control away from overpowerful government and global forces and massive multinational corporations, and bringing it back home into the hands of the people, back into your own home, giving parents control of how they raise their own kids, bringing home decisions. But it also means a lot of practical things, like what do you call your disposable income? Well, it's the income you bring home. And I want people to bring home more of their paycheck with lower taxes. I want to bring home more paychecks for everyone by bringing home all of the industries that the government's been pushing out into other countries by blocking our pipelines, blocking our factories and industries. I want those to come back here rather than just importing from abroad. We should bring home all of those jobs and paychecks to our country, our businesses, our money. Our future needs to be brought home to this country.
So that's just a little bit of about that. You can find out more on that one video that he did, or an interview that he did. Just go to YouTube and type it in, and you'll see it for sure. Anyway, it gives you a little bit of an idea what he's about, bringing it home. What's wrong with that? It's pretty simple. Pretty simple message, no nonsense message. Bring it home. Like I said earlier about the oil and natural gas, now the lithium. Home. Everything stays home. We don't need to bring in 17 billion barrels of oil when we have the third largest in the world here in Canada. And like I've said before about refineries, why don't we do refineries? Boggles my mind. Anyway, there's another video here I'm going to show you. This guy's name is Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson is the Lieutenant Governor General, I believe, of North Carolina. The guy is he's an amazing speaker, and he's going to be running for governor, and I think he's going to win. He's got a real simple message, and I've always said, too, that if you look at what happens in the States, look at what happens in Canada, very, very similar. You know, we got a lot of similar things going on right now with inflation, with interest rates, with tent cities, with homelessness, housing. So many things are the same. But one of the things I believe that we have in common is that we love our country, right? Americans love America, and Canadians love Canada. We love our home. We love the people of our home, and we want to do what's right for other people. And you hope that politicians would like to do the same thing. That's all we ask for. Just do the right thing and just be there for other Canadians and make their life better, not worse. And when I see politicians that just keep shitting on citizens and just what taxation is just insane, it bugs the shit out of me. But listen to Mark Robinson's words and how they resonate. They could resonate for Canadians as well as Americans. Listen to this.
For this nation, all the way from the beginning to this moment right now, they did it so you could sit in those chairs and listen to me right now. They did it so I could stand here and speak without some jackbooted thugs coming in here throwing chains on me and dragging me away. They did it so this nation could remain free and strong and proud and brave. And when I think about it, guys, every time it brings tears to my eyes. The way people have sacrificed for this nation. And then they hear people say that this nation is not good enough, that this nation is less than, that this nation is racist. My God, what part of this country do you have to live in? Where are you at in your mind to say that this is a racist nation? Where? Show it to me. Bring it to me. Lay it at my feet. Any person that thinks that this is a racist nation, look here. I got a personal story to tell you. A personal story to tell you. I'm standing right here and I'm looking at all these different faces in here, and I see people that don't look anything like me. Some of whom have embraced me in tears and tell me they love me. And they don't love me because I'm a black man or because I'm a white man. They love me because we share a heart. We share a heart for this nation. We've reached a point in this nation where people don't care what you look like anymore. Just as long as you're standing up for what's right. And that's why we're here tonight, folks. We're here to stand up for what's right. Because we know what's right, and we have right on our side. And I'm going to tell you, I'm telling you, as you sit in those chairs, as you stand there, as you listen to me, if you don't think this is a fight, all you got to do is turn on CNN for 5 minutes, and your mind will be changed. And so, what I'm going to leave you with here tonight, guys, is this. It's time to stand up and be strong. You know, I said for many years, if we had a president that would just stand up and say what needs to be said, he'd get something done. And we had one in number 45. We sure did. And he got some stuff done. Folks complained about how we did it, but I'm going to tell you like this. Now is not the time to be soft-spoken and timid and afraid. Now is not the time to sit back and say, well, maybe we can negotiate. Now is not the time to put a pipe in the corner of your mouth and say, well, let's see what the book says about it. This is not the time for that, folks. We are in a battle for the soul of this nation, the literal soul of this nation. This nation is actually standing at a crossroads. And a giant semi-truck called socialism is coming down the pike. Now is not the time to look at our nation and say, you need to look out. Is a truck coming? Now's not the time for that. Now is the time for us to stand up and say, wake up, America! Wake up! You are about to give away one of the greatest gifts God has ever given to humanity. You are about to give it away because you refuse to stand up like those who came before you. It is time for us to stand up, folks. It's time for us to be unafraid, unashamed, and unabashed with the truth that we have in us. And tell those socialist bastards who want to destroy this nation, you will not do it on my watch. You will not do it now. You will not do it ever.
Very powerful message. That goes on for another couple of minutes, so I'm just going to cut it short there. But that there, like I said, is Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, and he is going for the governor of the United States in Carolina. The guy's awesome. Great speaker, but no nonsense, and just kind of calls it like he sees it. I thoroughly enjoy that. Anyway, I'm going to move on here just to another thing about the media, as far as the media goes. I've said this numerous times before in different podcasts. You've probably heard me say it. But if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. That was Joseph Goebbels, Nazi propaganda minister for Hitler. And of course, they show, all the New York Times and all that stuff. Now, a lot of people go, "Oh, well, what do the media? What do they lie about? What do they say that's wrong or it's not right?" Well, I'm going to show you a little clip, a little picture here. And this is, let's just zoom here in a little bit. There we go. So, Harvard president's resignation highlights new conservative weapon against colleges, plagiarism. Harvard president resignation highlights new conservative weapon, the Toronto Star says, against colleagues, plagiarism. Harvard president resignation highlights new conservative weapon against colleges, plagiarism. It's like they all, do the same title. City News everywhere. Harvard president resignation highlights new conservative weapon against colleges, plagiarism. Now you'd think for a second that had to do with plagiarism, had to do with because she stole someone else's material and lied about what was on it and said it was her own and stuff like that, right? It had nothing to do with that. But this is the lady that they're talking about, and her name's Claudine Gay. She was the head of Harvard, and she said, "I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all, but in the end, it doesn't even matter." Claudine Gay said that, and she resigned the other day. And I'll show you another little clip here of Claudine here. Because even though she resigned the other day and packed it in, she still gets to keep her $900,000 annual salary despite resigning from her job at Harvard as Harvard president. What do you call that kind of privilege when somebody gets to do that? That's pretty impressive. But remember what the report just said. Remember what these all just said. I just had it popped up here. Right there. They all said the same thing. What did they say? Oh, that's right. CTV said plagiarism. Canada Press, plagiarism. Toronto Star, plagiarism. CTV News, plagiarism. They all said the same thing. But see, they're not telling you the whole story. And I'm going to show you the whole story here right now. Just going to click this off here. So the whole story was when they were in Congress. And when they were in Congress, they were in Congress answering some questions. There was two people answering questions. There was Dr. Sally Kornbluth, and then, of course, this lady that was from Harvard that just resigned. Now, this lady resigned too, and they were being asked questions. They were very simple questions, very simple. And I'll let you listen if you haven't heard this. Here we go.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it if the
yes
speech
or no?
If the speech becomes conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide? The speech is not harassment? This is unacceptable, Ms. McGill. I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes. And Dr. Gay, at Harvard, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
targeted as an individual,
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is anti-Semitic rhetoric
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer...
This lady just resigned because she couldn't answer that question. Like, had nothing to do with plagiarism, as you could see. Zero to do with plagiarism. Even though she did do papers that she plagiarized. That's a fact. But had nothing to do with what the paper just described, like I just described or just showed you a minute ago. And I'll show you one more time. Right there, where it says CTV News, Canada Press, Toronto Star, and City News, also the same thing. It was because of plagiarism. So that one? It was like a... That's right. Wrong. It was because she couldn't answer the simple question about genocide. She could not answer a simple question in regards to that. Now, if you could replace that word when she was talking about, when Stefanik was talking about, asking the question about Jews, replace that with, say, anyone in the LGBTQ or Palestinians or Canadians or Americans or any other group, white, black, green, yellow, purple, anyone, put their position in the same context of that question and how would it come out? If it came out the same way she was just described, what would you think? You'd think the same way. So she's good idea that she stepped down, in my opinion. Anyway, that's the last part of that little bit there. And of course, the other day, about a week or so ago, they were supposed to release the list from this guy, because the world deserves to know every client on that list. Jeffrey Epstein, and of course, Ghislaine Maxwell. She ended up going to prison for like 20 or 25 years. It was kind of weird. I was just literally saying this the other day, that she goes to prison for 20, 25 years. The court was not publicized in any way, shape, or form. No one saw what went on in the courtroom. They knew that she sold underage girls to men, but there was no men. There's no, like, where are the men? Where are they? I literally had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, I don't care who's on that list. I don't care what their name is. If they went to that island, they're on that list, they should all be charged. Because everyone knows what this guy was all about. He was all about extortion, and he was all about blackmail. And that's what he did. He did that, and that's how he made his money. He extorted money from people. He extorted money from people in high positions that could pay him back huge amounts of money. And all he had to do was just have video of them, right? Videotape of them, video footage of them with young underage girls. And they're done. They just say, hey, listen, give me $100,000 a month, give me $1 million a year, or whatever the case may be. What else? How else did he make his money, right? And of course, then he mysteriously dies in the jail cell, and they said he committed suicide. But then the two guards fell asleep, and then the tape was off, the video was off. Like, did they think that people are dumb? Like, you just feed people shit and they just eat it? It's ridiculous. Anyway, like I said, that list was supposed to be out on January 1st, and some judge just pushed it off for another 2 or 3 weeks. Not sure why, but if there's like 150 names on that list, whoever they are, you know, they went to the island for that reason. So that's just my opinion. That's my view on it, and I hope they get them. I hope they get them all, and hope they all do time. It's the way it's got to be. Anyway, that's it for today's podcast. Once again, like I said, Happy New Year to everyone. 2024. Remember, freedom is not free. Never was, never will be. We had our forefathers pay the ultimate price for our freedom. Like I said, I picked up this shirt at t-shirts.ca. Head on over to the link. The link is in the description below, along with the Love My Legs Don't Sound Great Bruce. And I can be found on Rumble. Leave any comments you like. Leave comments right up in the description below. And like I said, please subscribe to my channel and ring the little bell. Bell will be right about here. Hit the bell, and you will be notified when I upload anything new. I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot. So you'll see me on there, and you probably read some of my stuff. And yeah, it can be a little controversial, but then again, who doesn't or who can't be? Because that's just part of life. Everyone has an opinion. You may like it, you may not like it, you may agree with it, you may not agree with it, but that's okay. And hopefully we can meet in the middle somewhere and come to some type of an understanding at some point, maybe. One never knows. Anyway, like I said, that's today's podcast, all done. Thanks again for tuning in, everyone. It's much appreciated. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, everyone, cheers.
This episode sponsored by He Shirts, She Shirts. Go to www.heshirtssheshirts.ca. Just type in the letters TSA, The Surge Effect. When you check out, type in TSA for your coupon and receive 10% off your next purchase. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, everybody.